All right, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachah Kwadash. I'd like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I'd like to say Shalom to the elect that's teaching his word in all true faith and sincerity. And today I just want to get into the will of the Lord. To sum it up, the will of Yahweh Bahasham Shai in this time is the destruction of America. This is how the Lord once again glorify his name throughout the earth, as well as this judgment will bring forth a great reset in the earth. A new system will be set up, which is the kingdom of heaven. This is all the intents and purposes of the Lord, the changing of the guard, so to speak. And how the Lord will bring forth that transition, the event that will lead to the next chapter is World War III. That's going to sum up this kingdom. That's going to wrap this place up. And going back to the point, this is all the will of the Lord. This is his intents and purposes that's going to be done here on the earth. So this is not random at all. This is all part of the script. So I got this article, and it reads, Putin says no big deal for Russia. It's like, I'm gonna read it again. Putin says no big deal for Russia if U.S. declines to extend nuclear warhead limits. As you can see, it says, speaking to reporters at a summit in Tajikistan, Putin says an arms race was already in progress. Yeah, them niggas, because the scripture speaks on the army of the horsemen. 200 million missiles, which is the 200 million warheads, because those missiles can carry multiple warheads. That's what the power is that. It speaks on that in Revelation, the 9th chapter. So you can have missiles had 10 to 20 warheads on it. As you can see, they have a warhead limit agreement. That's it. Them niggas ain't honoring that. Just like when this devil first made the gun, he didn't just make enough bullets for one clip. No, it's a mass production of bullets and clips and more guns. So how much more on a bigger scale of these missiles? That's why you have even certain lesser metals such as tin has become more in value, because it's a mass production of these missiles as well, man. So it says, President Vladimir Putin said on Friday that Russia was developing new strategic weapons, and it would not be critical for Moscow if the U.S. declined to extend the warhead limit set out in a nuclear arms treaty that expires next year. He said it would, however, be a shame if nothing remained of the arms control framework between the two countries, which have by far the world's biggest nuclear arsenals. Yeah, because Yahweh Shai set up these two talks about how God shall come against Babylon. So of course they gotta have the arsenal to do it. As well as talks about how they're gonna be a guard to those other nations. So yes, the Lord set them up to have that. And let's see. We ain't gotta read nothing else. Just going back to the point, this is the will of the Lord, man. Because ultimately the results of all this is America being totally destroyed, man. So matter of fact, let's start off with this in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30. In verse 24, it reads, the first anchor of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it. So it said the fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he have done it. And what is it? Because it said the intents of his heart. That's really throughout the scriptures. The judgments that's written throughout the scriptures. Is really the judgment of America. That's that fierce anger of the Lord that's going to be on display in this time. And it said it shall not return until he have done it, until he have what? Destroyed America. That's when that wrath is going to be appeased. Because that's one of the spirits created for vengeance. It talks about how fire is one of those things that will appease the wrath of the Lord, man. So until the Lord destroy America, he's still hot, man. And it said in the latter days he shall consider it. So they show you a Christian come and say that was talking about when Jeremiah wrote. That's when that fierce anger. No, it said in the latter days. So that show you the fierce anger of the Lord in his perfection was going to be on display in the latter days. And you see the everything here for the wrath to come. You know, you got the missiles. You have the chariots. Famine. Everything is set up for the Lord to just bring forth the wrath. But the ice on the cake is those missiles, man. He the one that put the spirit on these devils to make it. Matter of fact, let's get that. Isaiah 54:16 says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in a fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. So you have the modern smith is the scientist. Because with them, they was able to bring forth a more efficient weapon of mass destruction. So a regular blacksmith, even now, a modern blacksmith with the gun, it can only do so much. But when you go to the goddamn Auburn, this nigga splitting atoms and it will bring forth a bigger punch, man. So that's the modern smith. They bring forth an instrument for his work, and that's those missiles. And I have created the waster to destroy, see? So that's what the Lord did. He created these scientists. I believe I know it was a Manhattan Project, but it was another one with, I think it was Project Paperclip with the German scientists was being split up. That was all the workings of Yahweh Shema Shai. You know, the Lord had them, America get certain amount of German scientists, and Russia get a certain amount. And guess what? Over the course of time, Russia ended up having a better crop. As you can see in this time, you know, by the way of these hypersonic missiles, and you know, they don't even have to leave the ozone in a sense. They can dodge. And matter of fact, what's that scripture? I think it's in Psalm 7th chapter. These weapons has gotten more efficient, man. And going back, is ultimately for Esau to be destroyed. Psalms chapter 7. Verse 11, it says, the Most High is judge of the righteous, and the Most High is angry with the wicked every day. If he turn not, he will wear his sword. See, he will bend his bow. It's like he have bent his bow and made it ready. So that's it. If the wicked don't turn, with Esau, he was created to be the wicked. He will go off if he do any form of righteousness. He wasn't programmed to do that. But it said if he turn not, he will wear his sword. And that's concerning as we going into those weapons of mass destruction. When you wet some, in this sense, that's going into sharpening. So back then, he even speaks of that on Joel. This generation, one generation, it's like, I'm going to have to get that real quick. I don't want to butcher it. Joel 2 and 2, it says, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong, that have not ever been the like, neither shall be any more after it. even to the years of many generations. Now, that great people and the strong, that's symbolic to those missiles. Also read that in Isaiah the 13th chapter when it speaks on that as well. It said, as a great people, using similes and metaphors to compare it, because all the armies of the earth, what's the end all be all for all the armies of the earth? The missiles. Even with America, you have that term DEFCON 1. That means hit the button. We ain't got no other solution but the button. So that's the end all be all for all the armies of the earth, man. These missiles. And really that's the army of the Lord. That's his army. But it's going to be put to use for here in America. Most of those missiles that's being made here on the planet Earth they're gonna hit America, man. As well as Israel. That land has to be cleansed. Of course, other parts of the earth, Russia's gonna get hit. China, America got missiles as well. They got enemies they're gonna hit. But when the smoke clears, the dust settles, literally, America gonna be a fucking desert, man. That's the will of the Lord, And the weapons are here for that to happen. So going back, Psalm 7 and verse 12 again says, if he turn not, he will wet his sword. That's going back to these missiles being more efficient now. Because you had, with the fat man and skinny boy, you had to actually fly over your target. To now, these missiles, they already built with addresses. Only thing I do is just put your key in and your fingerprint, or however they get this launch system going. It has become more easier and efficient. Even you trying to knock these missiles down with the missile defense system, it's feeble, man. It says he have bent his bow and made it ready. See, he have also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained of his arrows against the persecutor. See, so he said he ordained of his arrows against the persecutor. Meaning what? Those missiles got America's address on it. What is Washington, LA, or goddamn Alabama? These missiles that's being built from the Satan tools and these hypersonic missiles, they already built with certain locations, strategic locations. And that's really the Lord, man. A lot of these idols and shit gonna be destroyed during the destruction, But as you can see, this is his purpose. This is the Lord's doing. And going back to the point, is ultimately the results is America being destroyed, man. All them missiles. Because put the spirit on, Proverbs 21 for them to even say fuck the agreement. And Putin already had in his mind that was never, they wasn't never even honoring that shit. The missile, they call it the arms race, been happening. Proverbs 21:1. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. See? So this is the will of Yahweh Shema Shai. He's using the kings of the earth for certain laws and legislations from the chip. The Lord gonna use the kings of the earth to bring forth the chip. For them to go ahead and sign a law and make that a thing. Which the chip is the mark of the beast. As well as getting those missiles flying back and forth across the earth. The Lord's gonna use these leaders to do that. So going back, this is the will of the Lord. So yeah, I might just do it edifying. I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rachah, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect, the teaching word on true faith and sincerity. Shalom.